Hello, it's Chantel, and welcome back to the Renaissance Art Lecture Part 2. So we're continuing with some of our Renaissance artists, and this is the famous painter Raphael. This was a work of his that is very well known. It's called The School of Athens. And for one part, it's a fascinating look because he's really playing with perspective, with trying to understand how things vanish going back in space, playing with highlights and shadows so that we have light coming through this central area, but shadowing this corridor that these people are walking through. Also, how to group people and give a sense that these people are behind these people, how human bodies recline and lounge and interact with one another. So from that standpoint, it's a very fascinating piece. It's also pretty interesting because what he did is this is showing the famous Greek philosophers. And let me take you to the next slide and I'll show you who's who in here. So in this painting, as an up close, we've got Plato and Aristotle and Diogenes and Socrates and all of these interesting philosophers represented throughout. And then it's kind of interesting because what he did is he plays with the philosophers and using his peers, other famous painters and other artists to portray these people. So for example here with Plato is Leonardo da Vinci, and Heraclitus is Michelangelo. Let's see here, who else? Plotinus over here is probably Donatello. We're pretty sure. Let's see here. We're not sure which one of these. A few of these are thought to be Raphael, whether it's this one over here might be Raphael. Yeah, but it's interesting how he played with the different characters and his peers. So it's a fun piece by Raphael. And there's a little more exploration. This is also by Raphael. Raphael liked creating a softness while still using very bright colors. It's almost cartoony in the brightness, but it still gives a sense of realism. And again, playing with perspective back here. The Three Graces, a very famous piece by Raphael. A Madonna with Child. You can see that our proportions are getting a little bit better than they were in the Middle Ages. Another by Raphael, the Cherubs. This is some of Michelangelo Buonarroti's architecture. This is in St. Paul's Cathedral. The famous Sistine Chapel, which was painted by Michelangelo. So here's the ceiling up here and the altarpiece. The ceiling was painted from about 1508 to 1512, and then the altarpiece was painted later. The ceiling is really quite exquisite. You can see all of the panels up top here. And he painted them doing a fresco technique where he put down wet plaster. He had created patterns on paper, like large pieces of paper with holes poked in them for the outline. And then he would hold the paper up against the wet plaster and take a bag of charcoal and pounce that over the surface to get some of the outlines. And then from there, he painted. He spent many years on his back painting, and his diaries talk about how painful that process was. The famous God and Adam, the moment of creation, and then the altarpiece down here was painted from 1536 to 1541, and this is the Last Judgment. It's kind of interesting too how in the Last Judgment there is somewhere in here, here it is, the deflated remains of one of the saints, and we're pretty sure that that is Michelangelo, a self-portrait of kind of how he felt. He did amazing work as a painter, but he did not like painting. He did not consider himself a painter. He was a sculptor. He was an amazing sculptor of marble. He was inspired by the Greek marble sculptures. This is his famous David sculpture, done from about 1501 to 1504. It is huge. It's like, I can't remember right off, it's like 12 feet tall, I think, and exquisitely done. Here's his Pieta, the Virgin Mary holding Christ, all sculpted out of marble. And look at how the fine detail of the fabric in the marble. And his last piece that we're going to look at is Moses, again by Michelangelo, done in 1513, sculpted out of marble. Michelangelo often said that the way he approached sculpture, and I'm fascinated by this, is that he would look at the marble and he would spend a lot of time picking out the perfect piece of marble for his piece, for his work. And, I'm sure he had sketches that he did of each of these and knew what he wanted to do. But then he said the way he worked is he just removed all of the marble that was not what he was sculpting, right? So in this one, the sculpture of Moses, his approach would be just to eliminate all the marble that is not Moses. I think that's pretty interesting. So there you have it. Some of the artists of the Renaissance, exploring human nature, striving for that Greek perfection. And it's interesting because coming off of the iconoclast controversy and feeling that it was trying to compete with God if you created realistic images, the Renaissance artists tended to feel more that it was a glorification of God and showing how amazing God is in creating beautiful human beings and also giving human beings the gift to express these ideas. And so that's kind of where the Italian Renaissance artists were coming from. Is that full exploration of human potential. And that's their vantage on humanism and humanity, is just really living life to its fullest and exploring all of the wonders that we've been given as human beings. All right. Thank you very much and have a great day.